Good Sunday afternoon, my friends. Welcome to 605 Speaks. It is Sunday, June 29th, 2025. The first thing I want to open with is if you are watching social media about the Midwest, about last night and today, we had some very terrible tornado activity happen in South Dakota last night, near Gary, South Dakota, and Clear Lake, South Dakota. There's some really awesome videos and awesome photography coming out of that, and we had storm chasers in the state. And I do want to remind you, as beautiful and awesome as all of those things were, real people's lives were impacted. I have a past 605 Speaks with Carmen, who's Gary is her hometown and her family is there. And I did touch base with her this morning. Everybody is safe and fine. Some of their neighbors experienced some devastating loss, and they're documenting it today. And she did let me know that her family is safe and going to be helping pull together, as we South Dakotans do, to help their neighbors. I did tell her to keep me posted for any type of fundraisers, reputable fundraisers, and links that will go right to the people in need that you can trust. And when I get that information, I will definitely share it on all my pages. But yeah, do remember, as beautiful as the photography is, there's even one photo from the rodeo grounds. There's horses, there's tractors, there's sky, there's tornado. They actually had to put on there, this is not Photoshopped, this is not AI, this really happened last night, because it looks like, how could you pull that together? But again, real people, devastating destruction, losing their homes and valuables. And for farmers, it can be their livelihood. So please make sure, if you're giving, that you're giving to appropriate and reputable sites. And for my fellow South Dakotans, remember, this is storm season. This is the time people sweep in and try and take advantage of us. Don't be getting connected with any fly-by-night construction companies. Work with the people you know and can trust. So, but let's get started today. We're going to talk about something great and something awesome that's coming to the Sioux Falls area. So I'm going to bring on my guest today. Let's do that. DougHolubek. Hello, Doug. How are you?
Doing good.
Good. And we're going to open with the elephant in the room. You are not a lifelong South Dakotan. You're new to our state.
Yep, that's correct.
You came from Florida.
Yep.
So how are you weathering our hot and humid heat? What is this compared to where you lived before?
It's pretty comparable. I think though the Florida, it might, if you actually look at the number temperature, it might cool off and not high 90s, just because it'll rain like every afternoon for like an hour
and give you a break.
Yeah, it's got to cool it off. So it's really different, and the days are longer here. It's like the sun going down at past 9. That's kind of wild to me. But yeah.
I live in the country now, and I'm surrounded by cornfields, so I'm dealing with corn sweat. Whenever you're by fields, it creates a different kind of humidity that comes off the field. And I do not have air conditioning, not even a window air conditioner. So if I look like I'm sweating today, it's because I'm sweating today. It's very warm and very humid. But so what brought you to South Dakota from Florida?
So my ex-wife's job, her career, had a career change, and I work remote, so I was able to just go with the flow there. So yeah, that's how it happened.
That's what brought you to the Midwest industry.
Industry. Yeah.
And you're an artist, and that, I'm assuming, is not your full-time gig, because you cannot do sidewalk chalk remotely. You've got to get your hands on the ground.
Right.
How did you get started in that?
I think it was around 2022-ish. I was trying to look back at my photos on my phone and look at the date to see, because everyone asked me, like, when did you start? And that seems to be the oldest one. A lot of people got into this with COVID, and I guess it was like COVID was still kind of on its way out then.
But something you could do outside and do solitary and share with people.
Yeah, it is. and I was chalking with my daughters in like the driveway, and then I would do it in the park, and I would draw with them. And some people started posting some of my stuff on Facebook, and I actually didn't have a Facebook account at the time, so I was like, well, I probably want to post my own drawings. So I created a Facebook account again and started posting. And sure enough, like Facebook does all the, they start saying, do you want to join the Sidewalk Chalk group? And I said, I guess. And it was just this whole community where you can, people ask questions. It's like, what supplies do you use? What are like tips on anything?
Yeah.
And how do you do this? How do you do that? So it just grows from there. And there's a pretty robust chalk community in Florida. There's a lot of events there. Once I started finding out there's events, and I started to apply, and I actually connected with a couple ladies there that are really experienced, and I took some private lessons with them, some art lessons. So I learned a lot from them. So that was a really good starting point, because there's a lot of really experienced people in Florida doing it.
And here, you live in Lincoln County. I always kind of base this on counties. You live in Lincoln County. Our weather is unpredictable.
I'm actually in Minnehaha. I'm in Sioux Falls. The Sioux Falls.
You are in Sioux Falls. Okay. I had it in my head that you were in the Harrisburg area, but I think that's because the work I saw was from the Harrisburg area.
Mm-hmm.
Our weather is unpredictable and things like that. But I know I've done some chalking things before and watched, and like you said, people learn different materials to use. Mm-hmm. Some of it actually holds up. I mean, not through a torrential rainstorm probably, but when you do some of the art you do, it lasts for days and days.
Yeah, no, it depends on like the type of pavement it's on and how much rain. Oh. In Florida, I think the pavement is a little more porous, and the rain is really heavy, and it goes away really quick.
Okay.
But I think the stone they use on the sidewalk is different, and I don't know if the rain is as heavy, maybe because we're getting, humidity from the Gulf of the Atlantic that may have salts or other stuff in it. I don't know what
other elements that take
elements. I don't know, like because I remember there was, and I saw and I almost could before I even moved, someone on that Facebook group, I think she was in Colorado, she's like, oh, here's my before and after the rain, and it barely faded, and I was like, how's that possible? And I go, here's my before and after. She's like, oh yeah, Florida rain is way heavier, is what she said.
And I'm sure you're right. There's elements of the sea air and things like that, and wind. Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. Your event coming up in August, you're still in the planning phases because you're looking for artists to participate as well as donors to support. If everybody wants to look on the bottom there, we've got a little ticker going, and I will be updating with the links. The GoFundMe is to raise money to help bring the artists here and get them supplies. And then it's happening in August at Lions Centennial Park in Sioux Falls. And for anybody that's trying to figure out which park is which, we have more than one Lions Park in Sioux Falls. They're spelled two different ways. So this will be at the one that's like lion, the animal, LIONS, Lion Centennial Park. What helped you determine that was a good site? Is there lots of pavement there? I mean, there's got to be lots of, quote, canvas, right?
There is, yeah. It was a recommendation from the city when I was doing the permitting stuff. And I actually wanted to do downtown, but there's like rules about blocking off. You can't block off Phillips. Like, I think the art festival with the pavilion can, but they're like grandfathered in.
The rules have changed over the years.
Yeah. So I tried to, once they told me where I couldn't do, I tried to get somewhat close to center of downtown. And I would have to rent barricades, and the barricades, and I call the barricade company, and because they have to drop it off and pick it up, and I'm renting it for the day. I think it was somewhere in the range of $4,000 to $5,000. So I was like, I don't have like, because GoFundMe is a pretty like low rent way to raise money. No offense to
Right.
GoFundMe. It's like ideally you want to partner with some organization where you can people can make like a
Like a
501c3.
sponsorship.
Yeah, a sponsor but most sponsors they're not just going to give to a random person and they're just like, well, how do they know I'm going to run off with the money? I
Right.
obviously won't, but like they don't. There's a level of trust. So like if you have some organization that's like an art nonprofit that's actually registered, and say, hey, here's the tax ID. This is a legitimate nonprofit. Then their donation, one, is trustworthy, and two,
Right.
is tax deductible for them. Whereas like it's not tax deductible if you just give to GoFundMe. It's like handing a random person
Right.
cash. It's not doesn't you don't get that benefit. But so that being said, I was like, oh, I can't do the barricades. And I said, what about Falls Park? And the city was like, no, we don't let anything happen in the summer. It's like, they want they don't do events there.
It's not. There's so much drive-through tourist traffic. It's almost not event amenable. Even when they do have different things there and the farmers market and all that, the parking, no, it's kind of crazy. Some of our other parks, even though they're farther away from what you would call the center, they're actually better for people, for the attendees. They have a better experience. I looked at your site. Your plan is for artists to each get an allocated amount of space.
Yep.
And I'm assuming that when you go to do art, you look at different elements of like space and whatnot as you decide what you want to put in it. What's your process? Do you sometimes have a space catch your eye and you're like, that would be perfect for me to put a picture of this in it? Or do you go with a picture in mind and make it fit the space?
Well, I do a lot of planning. So there's a lot of techniques and a lot of that I learned from other chalk artists where they usually don't typically freestyle unless it's something very small. Because once you're getting very big, like your image is really difficult to freestyle. And mural artists do this too.
Right.
They'll either use this, and these are common things that they teach in, like, I guess, art school and stuff. I don't have like an art degree, but people that do tell me that it is taught in art school. Right. Where they'll use like a grid technique where you have a small picture, maybe on a printed paper, and you put rectangular grids over it. And then you, on wherever you're drawing, whether the mural person puts it on a huge building, you'll see you might have like, maybe not the grid, but the intersection. You'll see they'll probably use like something like a white chalk, but then they'll use permanent paint over it,
so that they know they're fitting it in perspective.
It's a proportionality thing. It's like a ratio. It's like, okay, if you have a 1-inch box here and a 1 foot box there, we're just trying to get everything lined up. So that's a super common technique. As far as like this, and then there's this other technique that's really good called pouncing, where you basically trace the drawing on paper and use the pounce wheel, like a spoke wheel, and poke through the line. So then you have a paper you put down on the concrete and use powder. Actually, baby powder was what I use.
Oh, wow.
And the powder falls through. You pick up the paper and you basically have your outline, and then then you can go from there. So that's an even better, and that's really effective if you're doing a perspective stuff, because when you do the perspective stuff, the thing is going to be the top of it is going to be stretched very tall on the actual image, and it only gives that anamorphic look from one single spot. You have to stand in front of it, and you have to look through your phone. Because if you're just looking at it with your eyes, everyone was 2 eyes. You're for a reason, because you're not fooled by it gives you depth perception. You can tell
it keeps you from tripping over the flat piece of art.
Right, right. No, there was an interesting like Neil Armstrong was interviewed, and he talked about when he was on the moon. He could tell that the horizon was closer to him, even though it's a flat line of the ground and the sky, the space at the time. just your depth perception, your eyes tells you how far things are away.
Right.
So the camera, even if your camera, like my iPhone has like 3 lenses, it's really effectively one lens. So it gets fooled. So you'll hold it in front and you see it, the perspective there. But yeah, going back to like, yeah, so it's like, because it's so stretched, it's like having that outline, because freestyling that would be really difficult. There's this other technique I haven't done, and a lot of the artists are doing it. They'll get the I think they're MetaQuest or something, like the visors, and the visors are basically virtual reality. So they're basically, they'll project the whole thing, and it'll basically make
color
it
look in.
Yeah, they basically can outline it, because they can do the outline on their thing, on their ground. So
I'm too old for that nonsense. I would be.
Yeah. So that actually, I've heard, because that'll save them even more time, because they don't have to do, because the paper stuff takes me hours, like, beforehand.
Right.
And especially if it's a really big one, sometimes I have like multiple sheets of paper just to
put it together,
map the whole thing out.
You're like a chalk Banksy, though. That's how Banksy does his art. He didn't originally, but or she, we don't know. Banksy could be a lady. I'm on the bandwagon. Banksy's a woman. The initial art was go in and try and go as fast as you could, and then the artist realized, no, if I really want to do this, I've got to kind of use a template and bring it and work within it. And that's but you still get that very visceral feel of, this is my real artwork and I put my hands on it.
Yeah, definitely. Now, as far as the space, it's like, it's I don't really think of the space as what would be there. It's really just like, if you're looking at a space to draw, it's like you really just want it to be good, smooth concrete. You don't want it to be bumpy or cracks or, gum
lots of heaves and things like that.
Yeah.
Do you go in, so your space, like if you pick a spot, do you prep it? Do you sweep it? Do you wash it? Do you
I have
ground?
It's a good idea to sweep it. I have like a broom or just even a hand broom, just to get some of the extra dirt off. But it actually doesn't matter. I think the last couple of times I forgot to use the broom, and I don't think it, it's actually not a big deal. There is a thing that people do. They'll mix paint, there's a temporary type of paint called tempera paint. And a lot of kids' art programs use it because it washes away. But it's essentially the same thing as chalk, but in like a liquid form. So you could use a brush. A lot of people will, if they're at an event, they'll put like a black background of tempera and then chalk over it. And
wow, to make it pop.
It makes it pop, but also like there's some events where like they have like brick pavers, and brick is so smooth that the chalk doesn't really stick to it. So you have to put the tempera down, because like a brick paver is it's not a good surface for.
So it's like when you gesso your canvas, like most artists have to treat their canvas to make it really hold the texture and hold.
That's a similar thing for sure.
Yeah. What made you have a goal of doing an event, of like trying to pull people together and bring them here?
There's no event here currently. I mean, there used to be.
Yeah. And it's been a while since we've had one, and people love them. I mean, it's just, even if you're not going to be a participant, to go and watch them, it's just, I think that this is a city that's really embraced live art and active art. I always call it active art. Like when you look at our sculpture walk and things like this, it's just another thing like that where you can go and for free experience new and fresh stuff. It's kind of daunting though to go, all right, I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to bring people to this city. I'm going to put it on. Are your kids your little champions? Are they helping support you?
They are. Yeah. They've gone to chalk with me a bunch of times. Not all events let kids in. I think mine, I capped it to be like a minimum age of 16. I mean, if I do this again in a future years, I might change that. But it's like, there's not like, it's being newish. Obviously, it's not the first one, but it's trying to get off the ground.
Right. You can't have a free for all.
I don't have a
ton
of
organization.
I don't have like dozens and dozens of applicants. It's still
Right.
so far I have some, but it's still pretty small and right now. So it's not going to be a huge event. So it's not really fair for a kid to compete. It is a competition too. So it's not really fair for a kid to compete against an adult.
Right.
I'm not I'm going to draw, but I'm not competing because it's not fair for me to choose people. So I'm just like a non-competitive.
A neutral artist.
Neutral, yeah.
Yeah. So, maybe you can do your whole drawing in neutral tones.
Maybe. Yeah.
That would be.
No, there's an interesting story. I think Dakota News mentioned it because I told them about it. It's basically like this art form is really old, where in Italy people would mural artists would paint the churches, and they'd go from town to town. They're essentially like a vagabond, really, just living in people's houses in like the 1600s. And for just for an extra side cash money, they take their hat off, they put it on the sidewalk, and they would use pastels and draw pictures, and people would just throw coins in their hat just for tips. And they're drawing religious pictures. They're drawing the Virgin Mary, Jesus. They were given the name Madonnari, which means I guess it's like artist that depicts the Madonna. So Madonnari is just a generic gender neutral term, but there still to this day are events where, like, I think in several cities in France, like Florence maybe have one, where they have a chalk competition and the winner gets that title. If it's a man, you're a Madonnaro, a woman is a Madonnara. And there's actually, someone told me this is like I forget which city does it, because I'm sure there's more than one in Italy that have the Madonnari competitions, but the winner is allowed to chalk anywhere in the city on any building or wall, and they're not allowed, once they have that title, they're allowed to they're exempt from being arrested for graffiti, basically.
Oh wow.
So
I'm putting
like a pass.
I'm putting the word in the comments, Madonnari, because I had to look it up. So I remember to look it up again. So yeah, kind of like being a street musician, but being a street artist. It
is, yeah. So a lot of events will put that in their name, like Iowa. There's an event in East Iowa. They call it the Madonnari event. I mean, not people draw whatever they want.
Right.
It's not really tied to a religious event. Some of them are, and they do a lot of classical recreation of like Renaissance stuff, classical,
which is some of the most amazing detailed,
some really good stuff.
Really intense. You feel like there's a word for it. I cannot remember it, but when people like look at a piece of art and become like immersed in it, it's a psychological effect. And when I hear about that, when I think about it, I'm like, that would have been me during the Renaissance. I would have just been like staring at things.
No, for sure. There's some really, really good art out there. So a lot of events, and that's what I'm doing. They'll have a bucket. Like I'll probably just have like a plastic bucket and like plastic tokens. So like attendees can buy a token, like $1 for a token, $5 to get 7 tokens, and they can put tokens in people's buckets, and that's their voting.
That's for like a people's choice.
For people's choice. Nice. So that's a common thing that events do for people's choice. They'll do that, the token voting.
Very cool. Yeah. Have you looked into, I could totally see, South Dakota, this is festival season for South Dakota. There's all kinds of summer events. You think about like West River, like Days of 76. And I was just out in Deadwood for Wild Bill Hickok days. I could see you showing up and doing at events like that, just a sidewalk piece of like busking is what they call it when musicians are out there. I could see you like doing a cowboy or a Western piece, or like they just had Quarry days in Dells and they'll have Jesse James days in Garrison. I could see how this could be a way to take an art vacation across South Dakota. Just go to those different events and be like, what's your event? Okay, my piece is going to be based on your event. That would be...
I actually kind of have done something similar to that. So I asked a couple events, could I chalk there? So like Canton and Harrisburg both had events, and I went there and chalked. And there's actually another chalk artist from Minnesota that joined me for the Harrisburg one.
And that's the first piece of your art that I saw. I saw that even before you were on the news. I'm not sure how it came through my feed, but I was like, oh, that's really cool. Like,
yeah, someone probably posted it on Facebook. Yeah.
I have a lot of like people in the Harrisburg district, so it probably just eventually it all filters around, you know. And I thought that's a dedication, because you're down on your hands and knees in the sun.
Yeah, it's hard on your body for sure. You got to protect yourself and take breaks, and there's things you can do. Like some people will buy like a little foam pad. So
like gardening and construction stuff, like knee pads and the gardening pads.
Yeah. I use knee pads too, because I don't have to move the pad around. I can just wear them and just stand up, and it's a little bit more freedom of movement. And some people don't. I see people that'll chalk and they'll just sit down and be barefoot, and I don't know how they do it, but
it's going to be hot in August. I hope that they bring their flip-flops. I don't know if I would want to sit on bare concrete or asphalt in August. Although I do like being barefoot, I don't know if I would toast myself quite that way. Now that you've been in South Dakota you've been here almost a year, right?
Yeah.
Do you find your inspiration for art and things like that, has it been changed or influenced by living in the Midwest?
No, not really. When I knew I was moving here, I did like one of the pieces I did a pheasant.
Oh, okay.
And I drew it. I actually drew it twice. I did a Winter Garden, Florida event, which is west of Orlando. And the only person that said, hey, that's a pheasant, was some guy from Massachusetts.
Oh.
And then I did it in Minnesota, the Monticello event. Everybody knew it was a pheasant, right?
Right, because you're in the zone here. The guy from Massachusetts, I bet he's a hunter that travels.
Maybe.
We get a huge influx of people from all over the country that come here to hunt pheasants. Sometimes it's ridiculous to me that we're like, yeah, this is our state bird, shoot it. But it brings our state a lot of money, and I'm a pheasant hunter. I've hunted pheasants, but yeah, it does feel a little weird. Look, there's a symbol of our people. Shoot it. So
it's funny.
With moving here to the Midwest, lifestyle, how do you find, are we more laid back or uptight than Florida?
I definitely would have to say laid back. Like the most, and I've visited here a bunch of times before because my in-laws live here. By far, in a way, the most noticeable thing is traffic and how people drive, because people in Florida drive like really, really fast and reckless.
Oh, really?
And I had like car trouble, and my car stalled out like on a turn lane. I was on 41st going to Minnesota, and it's a pretty busy intersection.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And people drove around me, and not one person honked at me. And I was like, so like floored by that.
Right.
I would like,
and I would say in the days before cell phones, 10 people would have stopped and tried to help you. Now I think we're all like, they have a cell phone. They've probably called whoever they want to help them. But I even had a day recently where I pulled over to pick something up off the side of the road, and I had to walk a little ways to get it. And 2 vehicles pulled over, both women. One got out and talked to me, and the other one drove away when she realized somebody had stopped. But like women for women, they were like, do you need a ride? Are you okay? And so, yeah. And I was blocking traffic too. So I'm glad to hear we're more laid back. I feel like people people are getting less and less laid back worldwide. So I hope that we continue to hold on to our laid backness. And have you had one full winter here?
I have, yeah.
What did living in the winter in South Dakota, what do you feel like you learned from it?
Well, I learned that I need to buy windshield wiper fluid that can handle like -30 or something.
Yes, it doesn't freeze.
I had windshield wiper fluid that was never a thought that crossed my mind. Like obviously it was going to get cold, but I didn't think about windshield wiper fluid freezing until it froze and it didn't come out.
Right. That would be definitely something. I know I've had friends too that have moved here and been like, had someone else point out to them, like, you don't have a real winter coat. And they'll be like, yeah, look at my Columbia jacket that I got online or I got for hiking. And they're like, yeah, that's not going to do it.
Yeah, no, it's probably people would laugh but I've lived my whole up until in Florida, because I even went to college in Florida. So I never really lived through a legitimate winter. I mean, I've seen snow and been in snow, but like very rarely, before moving. And the other thing is just needing like wearing boots. Like I never thought I would buy boots, like shoes. But you're gonna have to, because if I'm wearing sneakers, like the sole, I'm like slipping on the ice on the ground, and I'm like I can't do this.
Yeah, and you've either got to commit to carrying your shoes in your bag and wearing boots and changing whenever you get where you are, or a lot of us buy very multifunctional boots. Like these are indoor, outdoor. You'll see people at professional jobs stomping around in their snow boots, and it's like, that makes sense. I would do that this day. Yeah. Hopefully it doesn't snow on August 2nd.
Yeah, I think it's still pretty hot.
I think you'll be safe this year. But yeah, that's something to consider. Your event, bringing people back to remember what we're talking about. August 2nd at Lions Centennial Park in Sioux Falls. It's going to be a hot day. What do you, as an artist, like you talked about, kind of being prepared? I'm sure sunscreen and hats. Do you ever see people like set up canopies to work under?
Yep, I have. People do set up canopies, and if there's artists are allowed to bring a canopy, because I think the city permit, if it's the canopy, would have to be really big. I forget the dimensions. I'd have to look it up. But a regular personal canopy that people use, that are like those small ones, if you're just watching
like an event.
An event, just one where you put a couple lawn chairs under it, and it's not a huge one. It's that type size. That's like an 8x8, or 6x6 or something. Those would be fine.
Because I'm sure even there have to be times where, depending on the time of day you're working, and like you said, this event's going to go all day. Like some people might be working on their art from 8 a.m. until 3 p.m. The sun is going to move. The shadows are going to change. I would imagine a canopy would help them keep consistent light where the shadow isn't affecting what they're working on. Because I mean, if you're staring at something in the heat for 6 hours, I would definitely want consistent shade over me that isn't moving around.
Yeah. You don't usually get a shadow unless you're like near a building. Like this Lion Centennial, there wouldn't be any shadows, because they have like that walkway loop is kind of, there's no real trees next to it. There's like a pavilion area, but we're not chalking on that side. We're chalking on the outer loop. Shade. I mean, I think there's times where like I was under a tree, and that was worse, because you get all the leaves dropping on.
Oh yeah, and birds being like, I'm gonna add my flavor to your art.
I guess that could happen no matter what, if they're just flying over your head.
Right.
But
so since it's going to be on the walkway, people are going to be able to go and enjoy this over different days. Like if they come during the day and they can't stay long enough to see it finished, they can come back the next day. I mean, it's not going to just go away. It'll be there for a while. They'll be able to come the next day and see all the finished art.
In theory, I mean, I guess the wind can kind of take some of the powder off the ground. And if it rains, it'll fade it. But yeah,
Right.
and just once, I mean, every event, like once it's over, people start walking on it. If the artist is there, they kind of 99% of the time are, walk around it. But
Right.
once the artists have all cleared out, and I like watch people, they'll just walk right over it. So like foot traffic will smear it, and especially like things with wheels, bikes, strollers, scooters.
Oh yeah.
That
They'll take it with it.
It makes that line across it, and it'll mess it up. Yeah, no, I mean, in theory, it should stick around for a little while. I mean, it just depends on how much. It's really just rain or foot traffic with smearing it.
Do you already have a plan? And you don't have to tell us what it is if it's to be a surprise, but do you already know what you're going to do for your...
No, I don't.
No?
There's a bunch of events coming up, and I don't even know what I'm doing for them. I need to start planning stuff out, because I'm actually going to chalk in Mitchell art event, and I don't know what I'm doing there. That's like an art festival. I just asked them, can I chalk there? And they said,
yeah.
They said, yeah. Yeah, and then there's one in Nebraska. I'm going also this month later. Well, not this month, July. It's not July yet. It's I need to figure out what I'm doing there. That one is my daughters are going to be able to chalk. They opened up a age category for them too. So.
Well, I know for Mitchell, obviously the things people think about first are the Corn Palace and corn, because that's the center of Mitchell. But I did a 605 Speaks a couple years ago with a farmer from Mitchell. And one of the things I learned about that area that I never really put together was that there's a huge sunflower farming industry there. Like his farm there does millions of sunflowers every year. And I'm like, really? I just think corn in Mitchell. And he's like, well, get out of the middle of town. There's sunflowers everywhere. And then also a place that they have there, they have a fabulous, while you're there, take time to take your kids and go see it. They have a fabulous archaeological site. There is a prehistoric, I don't think is the right word, but there is an ancient village there, and they've built a building over it, and they're digging through it. And the garden there and the symbols that they've found on things there, all of that stuff, I'm like, why doesn't everybody know about this just as much as they know about the Corn Palace? But the Corn Palace is a pretty fabulous thing. It's hard to compete with that momentum. But
I've heard about it, because I went to school at University of Florida, and Mike Miller played in the Corn Palace.
Yeah.
And he's from Mitchell.
He's from Mitchell, yeah.
Right. So I mean, that's a little dated, because he's retired now. Like he's not in the NBA anymore. But yeah, no, I knew about it before I even went to. First time I visited South Dakota, I heard about it.
Yes. There's a lot more to Mitchell than just the Corn Palace, and it's really quite an intriguing little corner of the Midwest. Lots of inspiration. There's a lot of Sasquatch art there. There's like a mural of a Sasquatch there, right across the street from the Corn Palace. I'm like, what? Is there a Bigfoot in this town and I didn't know about it?
Nice.
Yeah.
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah. It's really it is really interesting though how it across South Dakota, and that was part of this project, and I started this project during COVID, was finding out some of the unique things that I didn't even realize were here. And because you just take everything for granted when you live somewhere, but we got a lot of really like fun little niche things all over, and I could see how you could easily incorporate what you do in the inspiration for that stuff. And that's a skill I wish I had, is yours, to take an idea and make it real for other people to see. What do your kids give you a lot of inspiration?
They give me a lot of criticism. If I want,
what is their harshest criticism?
Let me think about it. Like if I'm doing, if it's a portrait, like if I'll do like a woman's face or something, and if the shading is wrong, or like the shadows and light and dark of on the face or the eyes, if anything's out of proportion, if anything's the shading's wrong, they'll point out any mistake I make. Or
They zero right in on it,
right,
huh?
yeah. So
are they interested in chalk art? Do they get?
Yeah, they like it. They do it. Yeah, I think they're pretty good actually. They're young, so, and I think they're pretty good for their age, to be honest. But I help them out with. I'll give them, like, they'll be. I think they get a little bit of advantage because I'm giving them better chalk supplies, because
Yes,
like kids usually, people are usually using Crayola. No offense to, I have seen like more professional artists use Crayola. Sometimes as a base, but sometimes the whole thing, which I'm really shocked because they're really light. Like, you don't really get dark colors out of it. There's not a lot of pigment in the Crayola, and the ones you would get at, like, say, Hy-Vee, like
ordinary sidewalk chalk to give the kids.
ordinary sidewalk chalk. But yeah, no, they get into it, and I help them. Yeah, so I give them some other stuff, like I'll give them the gloves, right? Kid size, like disposable gloves. And there's also this blending tool I lend them, like it's a pool noodle. Like, if you take a pool noodle and you cut it into like donuts.
Oh yeah, then you can kind of sponge.
Essentially, yeah, because you want to blend if you just take a regular pastel, whether it's Crayola or regular soft pastel, and you just write a line, it's not going to be a solid line. It's like you like
it stutters on the payment.
Stutters, yes, something like that, because it's bumpy and it needs to fill in all the cracks and completely cover it. It doesn't. It's has that broken look to it. So you need to blend things, and you need to blend, not just blend it to have a solid look, and you need to blend colors from one color to another if you're doing like a shadow or some gradient or something. So blending is important. Some people just use their fingers. I've seen, and that's where it's interesting. Some people, being on the sidewalk chalk group, they some people mention they'll use like really like thicker things on their fingers, like tape you would use for mountain climbing or something.
Yeah.
And then also, like, tattoo artist gloves are really thick gloves, but they're not like dishwashing gloves. They're still like the thick disposable.
Right, and they flex.
And yeah, because you want that freedom of movement. So like they do that. There's people that make suggestions. I just get like I'll just go to like at the automotive section. They have disposable gloves, and they're a little thicker, and than regular disposable ones. So like those ones work pretty good for me.
What about like when you're talking about blending and things like that? Do you ever use like spray chalks? I actually have like 10 cans of spray chalk in my garage because I just used spray chalk for an event. And I had thought that would make it fast. I've used that in art stuff too. I thought it would make it faster and easier for me, was my plan. And those held up like through the rain and things too. I don't know what makes them different, but do you ever use spray chalk to fill in large spaces?
I have not. It might be something in the actual spray liquid, because one thing a lot of people do, and I do this too, is when you're done or even in middle stages, I'll take hairspray and spray it over it. Yeah, so it doesn't really nothing's going to make it permanent, right?
Right.
You'd have to use permanent paint to begin with, and we're obviously not doing that. But like the hairspray it just makes it a little bit stickier. Like, it holds. I actually don't know.
I suppose it binds some of the powdering together.
I think so. You want it to the concrete here is really good at holding the chalk. I think it's really different from what I'm used to in Florida. It's like it's just different. but I think it holds the chalk pretty good. So you almost don't even need the hairspray.
Yeah. Yeah, the spray chalk, I feel like part of it I use stencils, and the stencils, so much of the chalk went on the stencil and I felt like I wasted it. And so then I went to just freehanding. And then we had a big rainstorm and I'm like, well, I did all that work for nothing. And then I go out the next day and it was still there. It actually looked a little cleaner because like my loose bits, those had kind of gone away. But like you said, the vibrancy fades very quickly. The pop of the colors fades. You know, that top layer.
Yeah, the top layer.
Blown away.
The wind. That's the other thing that I've noticed about the weather changes. It's way windier here, and it's hard to chalk if it's windy.
Oh yeah, because I'm sure it's blowing your colors together. It's
also like if I'm doing the pounce paper, I can't put the paper down. Like I literally had to unroll it, put like what I would put bricks down, but the paper would still get in between them and the wind was so strong, it's just try to rip the paper. Right. So I had to like take duct tape so that it wouldn't have like anywhere for the wind to get underneath it.
Right.
It was like, I think anything over 10 or 15 mile an hour, it's not good. Like it's got to be like if it's a little bit of a breeze, that's okay. But yeah, I was shocked how windy it gets here.
Yeah, we say a lot of things. It's another good day if it weren't for the wind. And that can apply to 369 days of the year. It's always, the wind is going to blow at some point every day. Well, as we're getting close to wrapping up here, I want to remind everybody again, this event is August 2nd, 2025 in Sioux Falls, South Dakota at Lions Centennial Park. And Doug is seeking artists. I will update all my descriptions of this video with the link to the Google form, and also seeking donors and sponsorship through the GoFundMe, or you can email Doug. And even if you're not an artist or not sure of how to donate and help, definitely you can go attend. I'm sure that the turnout for it will be fantastic because, like I said, people in this city, we really love live art. We love watching things come to life is so amazing. And I think that's really awesome. If you had to apply one sentence to the feeling that you hope this event evokes for people, what do you hope people feel when they attend this event?
Just have a good time. I don't know. It's something that's, I think these events are good because it's like everyone can attend. It's walkable. It's, wheelchair, these things, if you're accessible, it's like kids can enjoy, all ages can enjoy it. Like, that's, no one, that's a typical rule. You're not drawing anything controversial or things to keep it appropriate. It's just,
definitely a sense of community, like open to all of us.
Yeah. It's a free event for people to attend. I mean, it's also, it's funny to me because I get a lot of people ask me like, are you sad if it washes away? And I'm surprised you didn't ask me that, but it's like, it's funny to me because it's like the sculpture walk is temporary too, because they take them down
away in a year.
So it's maybe one of the most permanent things is a sculpture. Like if it's metal or stone, it's going to hold up for probably thousands of years if left alone. But if you cut it down, it's temporary for a year. But
all beauty is fleeting. You have to enjoy it in the moment.
Right.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Doug, for chatting with me about this. And I'm definitely going to spread the word. And I know, like I said, I know a lot of people in the art community in Sioux Falls. I don't know how many of them have, education is not the right word, but experience and background in doing quite what you do. So I might be learning some new things about my friends because I'm going to put out the word and be like, challenge made, girls.
Yeah, that would be great.
Something.
I can't tell you how many people, like even some of the artists that they've doing it for chalking for 20 years, they started by going to an event, looking at someone else drawing and saying, I think I can do that.
Right. Or I want to know what it feels like.
Yeah, and then they go do it, and then years go by, and they're the one of the best out there doing it. So I mean, it like events bring out more people to that art form, I think, because people are like, hey, I can do that, and they show up and they do it, and if there's an event the next year.
Well, and even just like you mentioning Crayola, and when we're little kids, the first kind of pieces of art supplies that get put in our hands are chalk and crayons. It's very simple, but that's how we introduce ourselves to.
Or finger painting, if you're like
like
a 1-year-old.
It's so technical and so mechanical and tactile. So, I mean, that's the feeling in my mind that it evokes, the going back to, I'm going to do this. So, fantastic. Well, thank you, Doug.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much. I appreciate spreading the word. I hope everyone comes and has a good time. Enjoy the art.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We're going to say goodbye, Doug. And everybody put it on your calendar right now. I know Doug, he's a one-man show right now. He's working really hard to get word out about the event and get it on all the different event pages. But you very simply can go to your calendar right now on your fridge and put Chalk Sioux Falls on August 2nd. And it is an all-day event, so you don't even have to try and fit it in and fit around it. You can go when you're available to, and definitely, I think this is going to be a great opportunity for, like we said, community, people in the area to come and see art and meet artists. There's nothing as cool as seeing a piece of art and meeting the hands that made it and the person that made it. So that is really awesome. If you want to support it in any way, even if it's just $5, go to the GoFundMe. If you want to support it with $500, that would be even better. And hopefully we get some artists from across the region that come and show us what they're doing and what their inspiration is. And I am sure I will be there handing out my card and trying to get interviews with them. So everybody stay cool, wear your sunscreen, check on your neighbors, especially your elderly or shut in. We are at the time in summer where heat kills. And it's a silent killer. Heat stroke, sunstroke are terrible things. So if you have a neighbor whose newspapers or mail are piling up, or you haven't seen them, go knock on that door and check on them. You won't regret it. Getting to know your neighbors is always a good thing. So stay cool, everybody. Enjoy your lemonade. Have a great afternoon.